The last thing I would do is to save my money in the bank. Banks are quietly using your deposits to mint new money legally. I always trusted banks with my money until I learned these 5 unsettling truths that almost made me go to the bank to make a scene. Henry Ford once warned about the power of banks. Imagine walking into your bank where you've been told your money is safe and growing, one where you're not the player but the pawn. What if I told you that the reality of banking is far from what we've been led to believe? Today we're going deeper than just checking and savings accounts to uncover how banks really operate, why they operate this way, and what it means for your wallet. Understanding these truths isn't just about protecting your money, it's about taking control of your financial future. By the end of this video, you'll not only have the knowledge to make more informed financial decisions, but also the tools to use the banking system to your advantage, just like the financial elites do. Once you understand this knowledge, you will be able to apply the laws of the elites more easily. If you are interested in this topic, type "I am ready" in the comment right now. Just comment "I am ready." When I see your comment, I will give you a heart, and if you want to help the channel, leave a like and subscribe. It takes less than a second and help the channel a lot. 1. Keep your money in a bank. Keeping your money in a bank is a scam. Let's break down the realities of banking and saving. We've all been told that keeping our money in the bank is the safest way to save and maybe even earn a little extra through interest. Seems logical, right? But when you dig deeper, the truth might surprise you. Most banks offer interest rates under 0.5%, while inflation often sits around 2.5% or higher. That means your savings are actually losing buying power over time. For example, if you save $1,000 today, it might grow to $1,005 in a year. But with inflation raising the cost of goods, that $1,005 buys less than your original $1,000 did. Your money is safe, but it's shrinking in value. Why does this happen? Banks don't prioritize growing your wealth. Their main focus is using your deposits to give out loans. So, while your savings sit idle, the bank is leveraging them to make profits. A smarter way to save and grow your money. Instead of parking all your money in a low-interest account, let's explore better options based on your savings level. If you have $100 to $1,000, starting small is still starting strong. Instead of a traditional savings account, try a high-yield savings account from online banks. They offer better rates because they don't have the high costs of physical branches. Want to dip your toes into investing? Micro-investing apps are a great start. They round up your purchases and invest the spare change for you. Perfect for beginners. If you have $1,000 to $10,000. With more savings, you can diversify your options. Look into ETFs, exchange-traded funds, or mutual funds to spread your money across stocks or bonds. They help you stay ahead of inflation. If you don't need immediate access to some of your savings, consider certificates of deposit, CDs. These accounts lock your money for a set time but offer higher interest rates. If you have $10,000 to $50,000, at this level you can consider safer inflation-beating investments like treasury bonds or TIPS, Treasury Inflation-Protected Securities. Want something different? Try real estate crowdfunding, where you can invest smaller amounts in larger real estate projects without buying property outright. If you have $50,000 to $100,000, now you're ready to step into more advanced strategies. Think about picking individual stocks or exploring niche ETFs and mutual funds. Real estate becomes more viable, whether through rental income or long-term appreciation. Don't forget to max out retirement accounts like a 401k, especially if your employer offers matching contributions. That's free money on the table. For everyone, no matter your level. The key is learning and adapting. Stay informed, assess your risk tolerance, and diversify your portfolio. No matter where you are on your financial journey, having a clear plan ensures your money isn't just sitting still. It's growing and working for you. Ready to take control of your financial future? Comment taking charge if you're ready to explore smarter ways to save and grow your money. 2. Every bank has the right to create money. Every bank has the right to create money out of thin air. Contrary to what most people think, it's not just institutions like the Federal Reserve that create money. Your local bank plays a big role too. Let's break it down. When you deposit $100 into your bank account, the bank doesn't just lock it away for safekeeping. Instead, it uses a system called fractional reserve banking. This means the bank keeps a fraction of your deposit, say $10, and loans out the rest, $90. When that $90 is deposited into another account, the bank loans out 90% of it again. The cycle continues, multiplying the initial deposit and effectively creating money out of thin air. This system works under normal conditions, but it comes with risks. If too many people withdraw their money at once, a bank run. The bank could fail. That's why governments often step in with bailouts to maintain stability. This also highlights how much power banks have over the economy. Their lending decisions can increase or decrease the overall money supply, affecting everything from inflation to economic growth. Wealthy individuals often have an emergency fund as a safety net. You should too. 3. You can make money by borrowing from banks and investing elsewhere. You might think debt is a negative, but it can be a powerful tool for building wealth if used correctly. For instance, borrowing money at low interest rates to invest in high-return assets can be immensely profitable. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, chose to finance his home with a mortgage at a rate lower than inflation, effectively making his debt-free money because the real cost of the loan decreases over time. By leveraging such strategic debt, you can significantly enhance your financial growth. Let me break it down for you in the simplest terms. You can actually make money by borrowing from banks at a lower interest rate and investing that money into opportunities that earn a higher return. Sounds interesting, right? Let me explain how it works. First, imagine this. You borrow $100,000 from a bank at an interest rate of 3%. That means you owe the bank $3,000 per year in interest. Now, instead of just sitting on that money, you put it into something that earns more, say an investment that gives you an 8% annual return. That investment makes you $8,000 in a year. Subtract the $3,000 that you owe the bank, and you're left with $5,000 in profit just for moving money around smartly. The key here is opportunity cost, using the bank's money for investments that outpace the interest rate you're paying. The difference between what you earn and what you owe is your profit. Here's a real-world example. Mark Zuckerberg, when he bought his $6 million Palo Alto home, didn't pay cash despite being a billionaire. Instead, he took out a 30-year mortgage with an interest rate of just over 1%. Why? Because he could use his billions to invest in things with much higher returns while letting the bank's money cover his house. This isn't just a billionaire strategy, though. Business people, entrepreneurs, and even savvy individuals use it too. Let's say you have a business that consistently gives you a 15% return on investments. Instead of using your own cash to grow, you borrow at a 5% rate, invest in the business, and pocket the 10% difference as profit. Even if you're not running a business, you can use this concept. For example, you could borrow to invest in real estate, stocks, or index funds, which historically have delivered average returns of 7 to 10% annually. Of course, this strategy isn't without risks. You need to be absolutely sure that your investments will outpace the interest on your loan, and you should always have a backup plan in case things don't go as expected. That's why this works best when you've done your homework and know exactly where you're putting your money. At the end of the day, borrowing to invest is about using leverage as something around a destination so your strategy can be aligned with your goals. At the end of the day, borrowing to be smart about money can also help you expand your returns. But like any tool, it can backfire if misused. So, if you decide to go this route involved, it's one of the smartest ways to make your money work for you. 4. The richer you are, the lower the rate. The richer you are, the lower the rate you get. Banks are businesses, not charities. Their goal is to maximize profits, which means they're very selective about who they lend money to. And let's face it, loaning money to someone with significant wealth is a lot less risky than lending to someone living paycheck to paycheck. Here's why. When you're a billionaire, the bank isn't worried about you defaulting. Even if something unexpected happens and you can't make payments, you could easily sell part of your business or assets to cover your debts. For the bank, that's nearly zero risk. Historically, this is how banking worked. Lending to those who had wealth or assets that generated steady income, like landowners. The system has evolved, but the principles remain the same. The richer you are, the more favorable terms you get. Now, compare that to an average employee. Life happens. Job loss, illness, unexpected expenses. If you're barely making ends meet, the risk of default is much higher, and banks don't like risk. It's not personal, it's just business. Think about it. Would you lend money to a friend who's financially struggling, or to a friend who runs a profitable business? You'd pick the latter, right? It's the same logic. But there's another side to this. Banks often give wealthy people low rates not just because it's low risk, but to build strong relationships. They want to be the go-to bank when that billionaire needs a massive business loan down the line. It's a win-win for both. So, what does this mean for the rest of us? If you want better loan terms, lower mortgage rates, credit card interest, or any borrowing terms, you need to work on improving your financial situation. It might feel unfair, but it's about proving you're a low-risk borrower. Interestingly, technologies like blockchain and cryptocurrencies aim to democratize banking. They're making financial services more accessible, but we're still a long way from true equality in the financial system. Even so, it's better now than a century ago when access to financial services was reserved for the elite. In the end, the richer you are, the better rates you'll get. But with sound financial planning, anyone can move closer to securing better terms. It's all about minimizing risk in the eyes of the lender, and that starts with improving your own financial health. 5. Credit cards are banks' nuclear weapons. Credit cards are banks' nuclear weapons. Credit cards might seem like a convenient tool for daily spending, but for banks, they're the ultimate moneymakers. Think about it. 70% of Americans with credit card debt say they can't pay it off this year. That's huge. And here's the kicker. Credit card debt doesn't work like a mortgage with a reasonable interest rate of 3.5%. No, we're talking rates around 20% or more. Now, if you're already struggling to pay off your balance, what happens in a few months when the interest has made that debt even bigger? For most people, it becomes a cycle, a debt trap. Over half of the people with credit card debt have been carrying it for at least a year, and many will carry it for years to come. Some estimate it'll take 3 or more years to pay off, and about 8% don't even know when or if they'll ever be debt-free. This is where banks make a killing. They profit from people spending beyond their means and then struggling to catch up. It's a psychological game too. People get used to a certain lifestyle, and instead of cutting back, they swipe the card to maintain it, even if they can't afford it. That's why banks are constantly pitching you new credit cards. It's not out of generosity, it's because they know the odds are in their favor. Now, don't get me wrong, credit cards can be useful. Used responsibly, they can help you build a solid credit score. But if you're not disciplined with your finances, they can quickly spiral into a debt nightmare. The key takeaway? If you don't have a plan to pay off your credit card in full every month, you might want to think twice before swiping. And that's it. The truths about banks that most people never learn. The financial system is set up like a game, and if you don't know the rules, you could lose. But now, you have the knowledge to start protecting and growing your money. If this makes sense to you and you're ready to take control, type "I am set" in the comments. I'll read your comment and give it a heart because I know you're serious about making a change.